With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Tonight, a brand new season and a brand new year are ready to be brought into festive cheer. It's the Precision Racing League and it's NASCAR Cup Series powered by VCO as we make our way to iRacing's virtual Legacy edition of Kentucky Speedway tonight to start a brand new campaign. Good evening, everyone. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight's action is Taylor Burris, along with our producer in Joshua Lee. Taylor, the excitement level's high to start off the new campaign. Plenty of your top contenders return to try and defend some of their championships and defend some of their wins. But the question marks remain, how will 2023 fare for these drivers?
And we kick off in the Bluegrass State here tonight in Kentucky Speedway, Justin. This track here is bumpy, it's rough, it's rugged. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for some of our competitors with these next-gen cars. And also, another thing throwing in for 2023, open setups for this class of drivers. So this changes the entire premise of racing here at this circuit. You got to be careful, manage the bumps here, manage your tires, and hold on to your hats because it's going to be a bumpy ride.
We start things off here in 2023 Season 1 of the iRacing calendar. That means we start at Legacy Kentucky Speedway before a 2-week break for the holidays before going to Legacy Michigan, Rockingham, Darlington, Legacy Atlanta, Iowa, all the way leading up to the first road course race on the schedule, the Daytona Road Course, before Super Speedway racing at Daytona International Speedway. Auto Club Speedway in Las Vegas round out that schedule. A busy schedule, remember. Most of these races are a part of the 2023 Season 1 calendar before the real-world NASCAR season begins in February.
Yeah, it's really a lot of things going on here for this calendar, and it's going to be exciting to see this play out as we work for the first couple of months into 2023. Daytona, of course, going to be exciting to see how that will play out for some of the drivers with the doubleheader at both the road course and at the Super Speedway, as we'll see as a couple of more legacy tracks throughout the season.
Let's take a look at the format for this season. Originally, you mentioned fixed, but these respective teams getting ready with the respective setups in preparation for tonight. See which drivers come up on top. So a switch over to the open side. Tire sets do remain the same, however, to 4 total sets available, 5 total, including that on the car to start. 1 green, white checkered attempt. And remember, the race is the scheduled distance tonight, 140 laps or 90 minutes, whatever comes first. So drivers currently getting their preparations in for tonight. Before we look at how these drivers in their preparation lead into qualifying, let's talk about your presenting sponsors for this season for this campaign powered by VCO. This coverage brought to you by the Virtual Competition Organization, as well as the many partners here in the PRL, including the event Sim Racing, Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Series also brought to you by RaceBox Sim Racing. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com and get a 5% discount. Use the Precision 5 coupon code. Tonight also brought to you by RaceLab Apps. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. By the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products include incredible immersion and bring realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. New sponsor coming aboard this season for PRL competition, Mecha Sim Hardware. They're a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedals, sets, handbrakes, and sequential shifters, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. And by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting more than 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Drivers in the midst of qualifying, 5 minutes, 2 solo qualifying laps to determine tonight's starting order. An entry field featuring 35 drivers looking to zip around the legacy version of Kentucky. And talking about this racetrack, Taylor, how do you attack the legacy version of this racetrack with the next-gen car?
One thing I had to say is racing around the circuit already earlier this week with the next-gen cars, one thing you're going to have to try and do is back up your corners a little bit here. Here you want to try to save your tires for as much as possible because you have to throw into the factor here as we take on for a little bit of a lap. You want to back up your corners to try and save your tires for those longer runs. The car can get very free off turn 2 and turn 4 very quickly if you're not careful with your throttle input. Secondly, also when you're coming here racing, stay off of that yellow line. That car is not going to want to be able to turn through that section. You want to run about half a lane up just above that white line there as we see him, the Eric Papineau machine, coming out of turn number 4. And finally here, be ready to have a lot of close racing action here because these cars with these next-gen packages, as we watch James O'Brien get around the circuit, are very easy to go 3 and 4 wide sometimes during certain points of the race, especially on starts and restarts.
Now, for those who watched last season, private label Team Hype, remember, had 2 drivers in the championship 4 for the overall title, Trent Dinkel, Abner Acosta. In the end, it was Dinkel who came away with the most points, 10 victories on the trot from Dinkel, 10 for Acosta. Private label Team Hype expected to do well again this year.
They certainly are as we catch up with Abner Acosta, who is the champion, one of the defending champions this season, with the team as well as with the driver. He's going to go out there on the track and try to set his best lap as Richard Reagan Jr. goes atop of the leaderboard with the pole time.
Richard Reagan Jr. this season with Phase 2, expect to be a contender when it comes to how things play out in the upcoming campaign. Many of these drivers, though, know track position is so important when it comes to this race. 140 laps the docket, yes, but it can be so difficult to pass here.
Certainly can be very difficult to pass here. That's 40 extra laps more than what we run in the official race here on the iRacing platform as Abner Acosta is working his way through. Watch how much that car bounces around through the middle of the corner. It is very unstable, and as they come across the line here, let's see what he can do. 32.0, which is not good enough for anything for your opening lap, because P25. Let's see if he's able to pick it up here on lap 2.
Seems like the second laps or the flying laps, the best of the time, should say, in qualifying today. Trent Dinkel amongst those who have not set a time and appear to be not setting a time at all, despite leading practice. So that's going to be a bit of shake-up, to say the least, to cut to the pack.
Certainly is going to be, but it's also going to be exciting to watch some of the drivers, such as Trent Dinkel, who was one of the most top drivers from 2023. There he is right there on screen. as he might be getting ready to go out on the track. We'll find out. Acosta moving up to P2 with a 51.567. So we'll wait and see as a couple of other drivers now make their way out on the circuit. Richard Pruitt might be setting up for a qualifying time, as we see the 91 of Stephen Hassett out on circuit, or on pit road.
Now, the clarification for those curious on the reason for Dinko not able to qualify, that is a crossover from last season for the next 2 races, I believe. When it comes to that after incidents, he also had an incident, keep in mind, at Chicagoland during the Round 10 campaign to close out that season last time out. So that crossover means the 9 will have to come all the way from the back of the pack in 30th. Qualifying has come to a close. 90 minutes, 140 laps on the docket tonight. It's Richard Regan Jr. who leads them off tonight. Abner Acosta starts in second, the difference about 3/100ths of a second. Matthew Lawn and Taylor Stout rounding out the top 4 today. James O'Brien and Byron Johnson rounding out the top 6 this evening. Chris Hudson in his 43 car starts in 7th. Joshua Daniels, top 3 in practice, back to 8th in qualifying. Matthew Campbell did not set a time in the practice session, still put up a top 9 run. Eric Pepino starts in 10th. Brett Picari, throwing your name here on the service, trying to charge his way forward in the Super Mario themed Christmas car, with Pat Harvey in 12th. Josh Cocker starts in 13th alongside Mark Kalin, then Brandon Walter and Charles Sumner in the top 16. Skip Gandy will start alongside Luke Christensen to round out the top 18. 19th goes to Johan Seminmario with Clayton Ham in 20th. Stephen Hassett starts in 21st with Jordan Slater 22nd. Jay McDonald tonight drives the coffee theme machine alongside Robert Gambill, the longtime runner coming over from Northwest Competition. Adam Zemke starts 25th. Jose Medina looking to turn around his luck and look for a little bit of love with Love Racing from 26. Aaron Beaver starts alongside Tom Embassy. The last driver to set a time tonight, Roy Grande. The rest of the drivers set via their grid slots. Trent Dinkel will start 30th as a result of the not allowed to qualify penalty. Jeff Chandler starts 31st. Waldo Walden, where is Waldo? He's in 32nd. Robert Bichon Jr. starts 33rd. Richard Pruitt and Ken Allen rounds out the 35 entry list here tonight from Kentucky. Look at your track conditions. Very hot. It has gone down the track temperature down to 97 Fahrenheit. That's 80 degrees air temp. The humidity, though, a high 51%. That means the engine temp's going to be something to keep an eye on a little bit with the speeds.
It really is here, and also you have to be careful. A little bit too much pushing and beating and banging to the nose of these next-gen cars. That's going to be causing a lot of issues where that will allow these engines to really overheat very quickly as the field makes their way out onto the circuit to get ready for some action. 140 laps here in the Bluegrass State.
Keys to victory tonight.
Keys to victory, watch out for the bumps here at turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That can very easily make you lose control of your race car very quickly here around the circuit. Second thing to keep in mind is going to be tire management. This track is old, this track is rugged and wear down. Taking care of your tires will be a key to working your way up through the field. And finally, make sure you have that, of course, your wrench ready to make some adjustments as far as for looseness or tightness around the circuit, because this track is very difficult to figure out which way you want to go, and we may see a couple of cars lose it off turn 2 or off turn 4.
But happy with us to start off the Cup Series campaign for the Precision Racing League, powered by VCO. It's Richard Regan Jr. in control of the field, Abner Acosta in second. We're glad to have you with us from Kentucky. 2023 is underway from the Bluegrass State. Regan Jr. holds on to open up the race, leaving lap 1 of 140. Acosta staying close. Top 5, in fact the top 6 all single filed. start off this race. 2x2 in the heart of the pack, but no one wants to go below that first seam.
Nobody indeed does want to go below that first seam. They're going to stay right up against that middle groove of the racetrack. In between the two white lines is where you want to be for the first few laps here around this circuit. There you see currently Matthew Long in that 28 Dirty South Ford Mustang trying to see if he can get the outside lane going. We may see some cars go up a lane and a half possibly here into the later stages of the run, but for the most part it's going to be right in between those two white lines in the middle of the corner.
Josh Cocker faking out the 35. Brent Pancari got a little bit of blocky. Opens up the door for both the Private Label Team Hype cars to zip around the bottom. Private Label Team Hype, one of the strong teams in this series for about 3-4 years now.
Not only that, in multiple different series, 2022 a strong year for them, picking up the Team and Drivers Championship in both PRL as well as also in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Looking forward to seeing what they can do in 2023.
Richard Regan Jr. losing the lead down the back straightaway last time by Acosta taking that point. The thing is, Matthew Long wants to get under. Look at Richard Regan Jr. running in VR tonight. That is a lot of water.
Well, you got to stay hydrated. You can get very hot and sweaty for some of these drivers here with the motion rig, the heat of the computer, as well as also just the heat bearing down, especially wearing VR headsets such as Richard Regan Jr. is doing right now.
Can't tell if that's a dog bed back there as well. I've seen a fishing rod there too. A lot of storage. But Matthew Long up to second with that. Already, Long, the first driver to dare go below that first seam to try and get rotation on the 5. How will that impact the long run tire wear?
For the first few laps, he might be okay to do that, but as he keeps doing that here, that's going to affect that right front here quite a bit, and you have to be so careful where you're going to be putting the loads on that car, as we see Richard Regan trying to poke and prod his way around to see if he can find an opening around Matthew Long, but right now can't seem to find the opening he needs to be able to continue on. As Long sends it into the inside, he's going to go right up to the door of Abner Acosta off turn number 2, side by side for the race lead.
First time getting a decent spot side by side in the Dirty South machine. However, having to go back single file for the corner entry again. That's the tough thing on passing the bottom, it seems here, because you can pinch down to the higher line.
You certainly can, and it makes it a lot difficult for you to set up a pass because you can be easily make a mistake, and that car can get a little bit loose in the rear end when you go that far low and that bottom to the racetrack here as we pick up the Aerokinetics team of Matthew Campbell, one of the newer teams coming aboard here for the PRL season.
Campbell getting shuffled out a little bit. He's amongst those on the bottom getting pinched out. Aerokinetics, the team that also is fielding Robert Gambo, Roy Grande, Scott Harrell, also amongst those registered amongst their 2 respective camps this season in the Cup Series.
Strong run for them as they're one of the bigger teams involved in this championship for this 2023 campaign, along with Private Label Team Height and a few other teams out there as well that have brought in multiple different drivers to compete for this championship, both for the seasonal and for the overall championship. As here comes Long down to the inside, sends it in deep along with Richard Regan Jr. He wants a piece of the action.
Costa getting shuffled out. Abner Acosta, though, now picks up the draft from Long. Long feeds it back to Regan Jr. Side by side still for the second position.
You notice how Acosta let Long and Richard Regan Jr. by, not wanting to go ahead and use up too much of his tires during the stage of the race. He's going to let those two maybe try to pull out ahead, utilize their tires, and then slowly reel them back in as they run in through the next run of the race.
A couple reports of some troubles out of turn 4. For the most part, things staying clean in the opening 10 laps or so of this race. Of course, the major discussion when it comes to Kentucky, the most difficult in turn 3 in NASCAR was the major point prior to the renovations to this facility with the banking in 1 and 2.
And the banking in turns 1 and 2 and turn 3 and 4 are very... They look like they're the same banking, but they feel like 2 totally separate corners here. Turn 1 and 2, you feel like you can set, feels like a little less banking compared to turn 3 and 4. Turn 3 and 4, you feel like you gotta go in there a little bit, take it a little bit less easy as we ride on board with Brent Pancari, who's trying to hold on in his machine. As he...
See all the Kitchener Rangers gear curling the OHL season in the midst of its swing. Around the middle of the season, I'm more curious about why there is a movie store stand in his office.
Why not? I mean, it's the man cave. It's for him to enjoy and have a good time indeed, and he utilizes that Thrustmaster wheel to his best with the VR headsets, and interesting to see he's running not a Ford Mustang, but looks like to be a Peugeot.
One of the interesting paint schemes and also manufacturers being utilized by playing a little bit with the decals on the car, let's put it that way. There were a couple Dodges in the field as well tonight. Here's one of them. This is the 91 of Hassett. And Hassett's in the wall.
That's going to keep on going for the time being in that Premier Racing Setups Dodge Charger, I have to say, in the iRacing service. It's not the weirdest combo, I have to say. The weirdest one has to go to a Corvette C8R dressed up as an Alpine. Yeah, I'll let you do the math on that one.
These drivers running under the YS Motorsports banner, one of the top teams in open wheel competition. How is the charge for Trent Dinkle? Well, it's so far 13 laps, up to 24 for +6.
Great drive for him right here as we ride on board with Trent Dinkle in the car. And he's running some very decent laps here. He had a little bit of a roll from lap 6 to 11, but just picked it up quite a bit on lap 12. Let's see if he picks it up again a little further on in this stage of the race, as he will move up to P23, trying to set his sights on Jeff Chandler in 22nd.
He was in 23rd, I should rather say, in that spot, +7. Jeff Chandler up 9 positions. Looking up at the front again. Albert Acosta under attack by James O'Brien, his teammate. O'Brien getting checked up, though. You see coming out of turn 4, bit of a bump from Chris Hudson. Starting to see the top grouping break away, if that. Byron Johnson currently that bridge between the two groups, the top 6 so far running about 1/10 of a second up to 2/10 quicker than the rest of the field.
They certainly are here. There you see the gap between the two drivers of Johnson and Daniels. It's about 8 to 9/10 of a second right now between those 6th and 7th positions. So we're going to start to see this stage of the race here at lap 15 to about lap 30. We're going to see the cars making some changes with how they are handling as the adjustments begin to come into play. Tires starting to wear off, fuel burning off. These cars are going to get a little bit more dicey, a little bit more loose to handle around the circuit, especially off turn 2 and turn 4.
Especially too with the track conditions already up 5 degrees Fahrenheit in 16 laps with the amount of rubber added. On trying different lines, still trying to reach forward at Regan Jr. I think one of the major things to discuss here too, with 140 laps, how do you slice the strategy for the fuel? Because by the calculations, I don't think you can necessarily make it at 140.
No, you certainly cannot. You're going to have to utilize some fuel strategy throughout this race, and really the best way to do it, I have to say, is break it up a little bit. Usually these cars can go about 60 laps around this track on a tank of fuel, so this could be set up as a 2 to maybe a 3-stop race, but it also depends on how your tires are going to be looking. So if you want to do it by fuel, you're looking at about just under a 2 and maybe a splash and go towards the end of the race. But for those who maybe want to try to stretch it out a little bit further, you could, or not stretch it out that far and say utilize tire saving and utilizing tires later in the race, it could be best to do a 3-stopper.
Keep an eye on that as the race goes on. Campbell, by the way, dropping all the way to 14th, under attack by Clayton Ham. Ham, the only one of the YS cars who did not choose the Dodge. The interesting thing, though, is he has Super Kick Me on the back bumper instead of his team name. He's been super kicked down the pylon, it seems, so far.
Yeah, not the best run for him, I'd have to say, during this stage of the race. As we do have a battle for the lead.
Matthew Long just took the lead. You see it on the pylon. Regan Jr. up for grabs there. The 28 takes it away in 1 and 2 this time on the outside.
1 and 2 now. Matthew Long will try to hold on for dear life as he separates by about a car length over Richard Reagan Jr. And we'll try to see what he can do now as the top 2 are starting to break from the rest of the top 5.
And Johnson seems to have chewed up his tires 1/10 of a second slower than those behind him. But Matthew Long, clean air, absolutely huge with these cars, as talked about by those in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series over the year.
Yeah, we'll see how he is able to do so here and working his way through the field. As we go a little further back, this is the battle, I believe, for 10th and 12th position. Skip Gandy, Eric Papineau, throw in Brandon Walters and Pat Harvey in the mix. So this is going to be an exciting little battle as they make the run over to turn 1.
See a little bit those difference in lines. Gandy getting some good corner exit speed. Papineau struggling a little bit on the rotation meanwhile. Papineau -1. Meanwhile, Super Kick Me car continues to get hounded by those behind him. Here comes Luke Christensen running the bottom of the SGE Esports cars. Little bit squirrely though. Here comes Mark Kalin in one of the Wannaback Racing Team cars.
Ooh, you saw right there the 21 of Luke Christians just shuts the door in front of Mark Kalin. He's going to try to hold on. There you see the Kentucky driver as he gets himself going. This is home state for him. He's looking forward to showcase his speed and talent. Last year, he had a little bit of issues throughout the season, but came home with a couple of strong finishes, looking to kick the season off on a high note, as a couple of other drivers are starting to march their way forward through the field. Josh Conker in 6th position now.
Trent Dinkle, though, right there as well. This is what we may have been looking to see. The long run speed. Can Dinkle make up 7 seconds to get to his teammates?
It's going to be a little bit of a tall order. He might be able to do it by running his pace that he's doing right now. And looking at his pace, he's actually about 2/10 off of what his teammate Abner Acosta is running right now. He's running similar lap times to James O'Brien and, of course, Josh Conker, but right now he's still got a little bit of work to do.
Trent Dinkle already to the middle of the pack. So a good recovery so far from the penalty. Also have to try and do the same thing after the holiday break, keep in mind. Hearing that there are some drivers who have to deal with damage, keep in mind, and as we know with this car, you do not want damage. On lap 14 about a few moments ago, Charles Sumner picked up damage, nearly loses it. Apparently he is feeling tight, is the report, because of a 3-wide scenario with contact with McDonald.
We talked to Charles Sumner back on Thursday about this series and a lot of things looking forward to seeing in the 2023 campaign for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, as they look forward to seeing who will come out on top as we watch Trent Dinkle now slicing his way through. He's now inside the top 15.
Dinkle is coming in fast. Problem is, equalizing out with the leaders in the clean space. Currently, a +16 to the field for Trent Dinkle in this race. Next up would be Byron Johnson. Defensive moves, meanwhile, for the Wannaback machine. Remember, Wannaback Racing used to be one of the top teams at one mark. Now Mark Caitlin nearly loses it. Caitlin holds on to it.
He held on to a big timer right there as we see the driver of Jeff Chandler right there behind in that chrome number 31 of Bruzy Racing Chevrolet. He will try to make sure he can work his way around the circuit, keeps up with the pace as we pick up the battle for P2 as Acosta is now utilizing that tire saving strategy that he normally does and gets by Richard Reagan Jr. for 2nd place and sets his sights on Matthew Long.
The reason for the looseness, according to the Wannaback camp, is the bumps are making him loose. How big is that in your opinion, to be able to make sure you hit those bumps right and don't loop it?
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely important. And the bumps are not just little bumps. Take Iowa's bump and maybe times it by about a half a dozen or more. Times it by 6 or 7, because they can be that bumpy, especially with these NASCAR next-gen cars. As we do have a couple of cars coming down pit road, I just saw at least one car, the 11 of Roy Grande, or Grande, as well as he's on pit road for the first time.
One of the drivers who races in Northwest Racing Series competition coming over for this series as well. And Grande might be done because, no, he just took 26 seconds for a 14-second pit stop.
Interesting to see that come into play. He's easily going to go about 2 laps down as we watch the rest of the field work their way around him, picking up the 66 machine of Taylor Stout, battling with Skip Gandy and Joshua Daniels.
out doing well, has lost some ground, but we've seen Joshua Daniels, when you give him the right car, do well in the series in the past, remember? At one point, he was a championship threat back in about a year ago, 2021 actually.
Yeah, it certainly was definitely one of those drivers who had a lot of potential, looking to see what he can do in 2023, as Taylor Stout definitely showcased a lot of speed a couple of seasons ago.
The poke around still coming from Taylor Stout. For reference, last season when it comes to his machine, at 77, seen a bit of a drop back with how things fared out compared to the previous seasons for the overall title per se. He was in the top championship 4 grouping, did not win a race though the entire year. Richard Regan Jr. now looking at third spot, battling with the friend James O'Brien. Josh Conqueror also closing in on them.
They certainly are doing that here right now as the field gets themselves up. We pick up Richard Reagan Jr. Starting to fall off the pace a little bit here, now falling into the clutches of James O'Brien and Josh Conquer. Just off of a little bit of a trip over to Las Vegas for the Supercar USA Super Nationals. Didn't get to have the run he was expecting in the Pro Shifter Kart category, but is confident to look forward to defend his Stars Championship run in the Rock Shifter Kart category in 2023 and other championships across the United States.
Update on the reason for Grande coming down. He had damage hitting the outside wall. That was the reason he had peeled down. But getting back to Richard Regan Jr., remember Taylor, a multiple time series champion when at one time it was a private label team hype around 2020. 4 victories last season overall in 2022 for his new outfit.
Yeah, not the season he was expecting to have, but it is a time for building, and we're pretty sure with the change of open setups as well, this changes the outlook for him and see what he could possibly come out and do, as he will try to see if he can challenge for some of these wins here for the Phase 2 chassis work team and go out there and try to beat his old team of private label team hype.
See though, that car getting very loose, a big bobble, as that's allowing the top 2 to run. Acosta keeping within range of Long, last time by more than a tenth quicker.
Quicker indeed, and he is starting to reel in your race leader, Matthew Long. 24 or 2/10 of a second between these two drivers as they work their way back over into turn 3 and 4. 33.4 to a 33.5 last time by between the top 2. Let's see what the times are here as they come across the line out of turn number 4. And as you see, there's the gap getting smaller and smaller. Last time by, Acosta still faster than Long.
Acosta seems to have the grip down. Way up the track goes Long. Long slides in all 4 tires up the circuit. Abner Acosta wants the lead back to the inside, off into turn 3.
Side by side battle for the race lead, and as they come off of turn number 4, Acosta will try to take over that race lead. So no avail this time. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line.
105 laps to go. Quickly approaching that pit window. Long trying to hold on in a push-tight situation. Costa forces him out of the marbles. Costa with the better run inside. Matthew Long able to pinch down a bit though for the corner exit. 2 seconds the buffer between them and the third place car. Acosta now this time higher up on the track.
You got to be careful with this segment of the run here. The car can get very light. Sometimes the car wants to push right up against that outside wall if your car is more tightly set up compared to other setups on the surface. So you have to be careful with that. And also one thing to keep in mind, lap traffic up ahead. Tom Amasi up next to be put the next lap down.
Acosta though clear. Long again pushes up the track. And Matthew Long starting to struggle on the tires. Acosta's long run tempo starting to kick in.
Really good run right here for Acosta to take over the race lead. Matthew Long right there in and amongst the mix of these drivers as the field gets themselves set up here. And now will we see Acosta start to pull away from the competitors? 0.3 of a second faster than Long last time by.
I think not so fast because Trent Dinkle, you may notice, is already up to 10th. He closed up 1.4 seconds in the past 10 laps alone or so, he is the fastest car on the racetrack.
He is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack indeed. Fastest car last time by, though, was Pat Harvey with a 33.6. Let's see what the times are here for Trent Dinkle as he tries to get around the Taylor Stout machine up ahead. And if he comes across the line, no, he is 33.63. That makes him now the fastest car out on the track, and he'll try to look to the inside of Taylor Stout for position.
This time being checked up by Stout at the reset, already passing by Skip Gandy a few moments ago. And this is going to make it so intriguing the rest of the way. He gets a caution. He's absolutely in the hunt. No caution. This will be a full race charge to have to make up from 30th.
It will be a full race charge, and you have to be so careful with that here, especially if a caution were to come out, because he was one of the first drivers who has to come down pit road and make his pit stop. That could be a long haul for him indeed, and not want to do that possibly during a caution stop. He wants to probably have green flag pit stops for at least the first and possibly second pit stop cycle of the race.
Already up to 9th, 21 positions gained. Now he's up to Joshua Daniels, who is trying to hold off a late run surging Pat Harvey. The SGE machine. Dinkle elects to push Harvey clear. So Pat Harvey up to 7th. Chris Hudson also within range.
Anyone, another driver who is on the move right now is Josh Conker. He's now inside the top 5, getting around his teammate of James O'Brien for the 4th spot here, as we watch on Trent Dinkle getting to the inside of Joshua Daniels for the 8th spot.
Oh, pit stop coming up early. Lap traffic peeling off the racetrack. The 05 Tom Massey electing to come down to start the window. 42 laps in. That at least avoids the potential of the impediment here. Traffic. But your thoughts on Dinkle as a driver, who has very much improved from his beginnings in the series, I'll say.
Well, he certainly has. He started over with SGE Esports, working with a lot of other great drivers over in that organization, but then saw the potential of coming over to private label Team Hype and really has blossomed coming over to this side of the team, worked well with a lot of the drivers, and went out there and won a bunch of races in 2022 for him in this championship run, and definitely going to say he is going to be ready to defend a chance of a championship here once again.
Josh Conker, you mentioned pushing forward. Conker already up to 4th. He's up 9 spots. Seems to be plateauing, though, compared to the speeds of Regan Jr.
Yeah, they ran almost identical lap times last time by. In fact, he was faster than Richard Reagan Jr. last lap. Let's see what the times are this time. And he was faster again than Richard Reagan Jr., but not faster than his teammates of O'Brien and Acosta, who ran 33.7s.
Looking back at the train, meanwhile, involving Dinkle and company, he has passed by Pat Harvey. That was last time by. Chris Hudson doing a solid job keeping the track position, but now we'll feel some pressure.
He's going to feel the pressure indeed on that Krispy Kreme machine, as the number 43 now tries to throw the block on Trent Dinkle, who does successfully this time, but I'm pretty sure it won't be long before that changes.
Hudson already giving plenty of space, way up the track, trying to turn the steering wheel way too hard. Dinkle will take advantage of that, moving all the way up to 6th, plus 24.
He's not done yet. He's really trying to work his way into the top 5. His next target is going to be his teammate of James O'Brien. As there we see Chris Hudson out there, as we do have a couple of other drivers towards the middle pack of the field making pit stops. Clayton Ham should be coming by next time by, along with the 35 machine.
Yeah, look at how much he's steering that wheel. That is a lot for this car.
And he's turning in the opposite direction on the turn. That's not good either.
Very lucky to hold on to it. Daniels now pressurizing him. That car doesn't even seem to be able to get to the bottom with how it's handling. Almost tight and loose at the same time.
Certainly seems to be the case right here as we have more cars coming down pit road. Byron Johnson, Johan Samarinario, Clayton Ham, Stephen Hassett, Jay McDonald, all coming down pit road. As there you see Johan and Stefan Hassett in his Mopar machine.
The windows open. Acosta already stretching the lead to more than a second. Robert Gambill on fresh tires zips on by. One car did kick up a fair bit of smoke on their pit entry. That was Adam Zemke. But so far, private label team hype doing private label team hype things, it seems, in clean air.
Certainly is, as one of our first top 10 drivers, Chris Hudson, coming down pit road.
Eric Clayton Ham has picked up a black flag. I think that's the perfect time to mention. Remember, it's not just the pit entry that's so difficult here, but that pit exit. Chris Hudson here in, but with that bottom of the racetrack so very tight, Taylor, turn through 1 and 2 on exit could get drivers a unsafe pit exit penalty.
It is one of the most difficult pit exits to get out because you really got to hug that pit wall in order to make it out there on the track without getting a penalty, and not also make sure you don't scrape the wall. As we see the 66 machine coming down pit road, that is Taylor Stout. I just heard over the radio Richard Reagan Jr. also getting ready to come down pit road this time by.
Brent Dinkle also indicating over the radio Pat Harvey wants to come in. Everybody's starting to think about coming in except for the 56 here. Conquer is in. In goes O'Brien. Dinkle gains a ton of ground on them. He gained at least 2 seconds on that send.
He really did, and that's going to put him right there in and amongst the mix of his teammates to try and get into the top 5 as we watch and wait to see who else will come down pit road. Your top 7 currently of Acosta, Long, Reagan Jr., Daniels, Papineau, Walden, and Kalen, and Pruitt still deciding to stay out.
Will this force Acosta in? No. Matthew Long, though, responds. He's coming in. Reagan Jr. also in this time, so Acosta electing to stretch the run. Second and third in. Daniels in this time by. More calls for box over the radio. Waldo Walden in. Mark Kalen also has just entered the lane. So pit party time for most of the field, electing to split at 5,100 to the end.
Certainly seems to be the case here as they're going to try to stretch it out as long as they can. As now we see Abder Acosta make his way down on the pit road. So like you said, it looks like it's going to be lap 50, lap 100, and then finish it out here to make it 2-stop races for everyone.
No speeding penalties so far. Acosta going on in. The last of those to pit right now. Papineau, Richard Pruitt, Robert Bisson Jr., Brett Pancari yet to take service, as well as Joshua Jordan Slater.
And we'll now see how this will work out for Matthew Long as he is out on the track now trying to get up to speed. As there he is right there. Acosta still on pit road. He's still trying to finish his stop. This will give the potential race lead over to the driver of Matthew Long here momentarily, as there he goes by, as he will inherit the race lead here once we see Papineau, Pruitt, and Pancari coming down onto pit road.
Gonna be a bit closer than I think he might have wanted, though, with the undercut. Acosta just now gets past the cone. Just had to cradle the edge of the yellow line to avoid the penalty, but is still within drafting distance, within 1 second. Trent Dinkle, with how good his entry was, passed Josh Conquer.
Certainly did pass Josh Conquer indeed, so that's a position gain for him as Richard Reagan will just dive down to the inside of James O'Brien for the 6th spot, side by side as they head off into 1.
James O'Brien slowing down on the short run. Reagan Jr. trying to push to get away from Dinkle and company. Dinkle bringing Conquer with them. Hudson also staying within range in this pack.
And report the reason of the penalty for Clayton Ham, the blend yellow line here. So he was the one who receives that unsafe pit exit here today. So that's a tough break for Clayton Ham.
Noah in, that leaves Pruitt and Pancari, the only ones yet to pit. There goes at least another one of them. There goes Pruitt, nearly taking the yellow cone with him. That leaves just Brent Pancari, who hopes for some luck for track position in the 35. He has a couple people left down. Everyone else is already back on the lead lap.
And pretty much 27 cars out on the lead lap right now, except for one car who is yet to pit, Brent Pancari, who should be coming down pit road here very soon.
There's a look at Matthew Lawn. Once that stop comes into play, cycle to the race lead. Acosta, remember, long run is the stronger point for him tonight.
Well, that's always been the case for Abner Acosta. He always has been the long-run setup guy, the long-run setup driver, where he prefers to be there towards the end of the run instead of up there towards the front of the field at the beginning of the run. And honestly, that's, in my opinion, for at least the early stages of a race, the best way to run a race.
Yeah, that's the big thing a lot of teams focus on. You can be quick in 20 laps, Taylor, but after 20 laps, if you fall like a brick, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I mean,
staying out, yes.
It certainly is. He's going to continue to stay out a little bit further into the run here. And that's the thing. I mean, yes, if it was a 10-lap dash to the finish, you want to have that short run speed. But due to the fact that this is still quite a bit of racing left and that there hasn't been a whole lot of craziness in this stage of the race, it's a good time to be that long run setup driver and have that setup work towards the end of the run instead of the beginning.
Already 7 seconds up over Matthew Lawn for the time being, approaching the very edge of the fuel tank. And the interesting thing is, in the Gen 6 days, the max fuel was about 67. If you remember back to those days, Taylor, even though it was about a year ago, drivers tried to stretch it to about 67 laps. Do you think Pancari's maybe thinking, save gas, get to 70?
He could possibly do it, but the problem is will the tires be able to hold on long enough to make it that long here around this circuit? That's the factor you have to throw in here, and honestly, with how rough and rugged the track is, I'm pretty sure he's already been gotten warnings from his spotters that those tires are not cooperating with him.
That's in reference to if you pass 60%, you get a tire warning. Then your tires fall off a cliff. Already just 3 seconds up over Lawn and Acosta. Looking at the choo-choo train, Dinkle, so far remaining patient. This is similar to his short run, despite his qualifying position where he picked up only a couple spots.
Yeah, Dinkle has a little bit of help from his teammate Josh Conquer right behind him. They have O'Brien just up ahead of him by a couple of car lengths as they come out of the turn number 4. And as they make the run across the start-finish line, they're not going to really just go guns a-blazing. They're going to take their time, catch up to their teammate, and maybe go try to make a run on Richard Reagan Jr.
Pancari has confirmed he cannot make it past this lap. He mentioned about 60. Pancari, well, is saying, it's my time. Lawn nearly misses the memo. Pancari coming in.
And with that, Pancari will come down, slides his tires into the pit zone. Got to be careful with your speeding here. We haven't seen any drivers receive speeding penalties yet. And, of course, he is going to make his way through as we do have one retirement. Roy Grande out of the race in the number 11.
He had made a second pit stop in about 20 laps that time. Richard Reagan Jr. up to third now with the result of that. Lawn and Acosta first and second. O'Brien in fourth. Dinkle, Conquer, Hudson, Stout, and Harvey the top 9. Luke Christian, the top 10 for the time being. And right now, Reagan Jr. on the 11-lap-old tires, still remaining a solid distance over the 12-lap tires of Dinkle, as well as O'Brien.
This is a stage of the race now where everyone feels like they can go a perfect 100% and really just fly around the circuit. But for this stage of the race, this is the time where you have to be mindful, maybe start taking care of your equipment, learn something from that first pit stop run, and try to apply it for the second stop here. Maybe backing off a little bit to save tires for going a little longer into the race. And as we can know and look and see, these drivers here, if they chose, could possibly make it to about lap 120 possibly for some of them. So we'll see if that works out, because I'm pretty sure if we saw from Pancari making it 60 laps around the circuit, we could probably see some drivers stretch it out a little further, make it only a 20-lap run to the finish for some of them.
Roll the dice could come from some, absolutely, if they want to try and steal a first win of the season. The interesting thing, by the way, to note, when we mentioned Charles Sumner's damage, 2 seconds of damage, just that little bit of damage, Taylor, today, is enough to disable this, really impact the handling of the car. So now, with that knowledge, what can you do to make sure you don't get damaged other than, you know, not hit the wall, but also if you get damage, how do you manage it?
One thing to do is to see how much damage it is, and if it's during a green flag pit stop, you got to try to find ways to make fix some of that damage while you're on pit road, one way or another. Yes, it may mean you going a lap down, but at least you could be competitive enough to where you could work your way up through the field, and if a caution were to come out, be in contention for a wave around or getting the lucky dog.
Reason for the Trent Dingle retirement in the second pit stop, apparently hit the wall again, then spun it on the access row before his day was done. Seems like the green light time slowly starting to work its way in for the private label Team Hype cars. About 6 seconds back of the overall race leaders currently.
6 seconds back, and they're going to keep on chugging along here for the time being. As the field gets themselves set up out of turn number 2, O'Brien leading the charge to trace down your top 3 drivers.
And something's going on with the 92 car, Jordan Slater. Jordan Slater, I don't know if he pit yet. No, he tried to stretch it further instead of anybody. Only made it 67 laps and lost a lap trying to do so.
Well, see, that is where you need to consider coming down pit road. When you're running that far back, it's no point in really trying to stretch the fuel run out right now. I mean, 67 laps is commendable, but with just where he was running, that was probably maybe not the best call to make.
Yeah, I was about to say, if we do see a gamble, Titler, where you are in terms of seconds to the leader is huge on that decision making. You can save all the fuel you want, try and stretch it. It's not going to be helpful if you have to try and hold on with the 12-second disadvantage.
Exactly, because, I mean, if you think about it, when you're that far back and you're trying to save fuel, look at Jordan Slater now. He's still on pit road trying to top up, and it looks like he's trying to repair some damage because he is on pit road and in his pit box for a long
Black
time.
flag speeding.
Oh, well, that makes it even worse as well. So, was that really beneficial then to try to stay out that long now?
It was also out of gas. Looking at Brett Dinkle and company now. Dinkle has passed by O'Brien. He's now up to 4th position. And remember, this is where he started to really fly through a lot of the traffic before. Next car up, about a second and a half, Richard Regan Jr.
Richard Regan Jr. now, he is about 1.7 seconds ahead of Trent Dingle, as Dingle will now try to fight his way up and try to close in. Currently, looking at the times between the two drivers, they almost ran identical laps last time by, so it's going to be a tug-of-war battle to see who can come out on top with this one.
But that's stock car racing for you. It can be a bit of a tug-of-war, it can be a bit of a chess match. But if you pick the right moves, guess what? You win the match. Luke Christensen going backwards. Munsto's trying to catch up to him. Skip Ganny and Brandon Walter. Not the day we expected from Walter.
No, it certainly is not the day we expected from Walter, and we'll see him. He is one of the more drivers we'll see towards the top 15 in the early stages, but once we get past that halfway point, we'll see him break into the top 10 before it's all said and done. So keep an eye on that 99 machine.
Walter last season 19th in the overall season standings, picked up a win at one point for private label Team Hype. Been with the team for about a year or so, at least. Oh, and to add insult to injury, Jordan Slater has picked up another black flag for his pit exit. So Jordan Slater's pit call has gone disastrous. He also was 2 miles an hour over the speed limit last time, missed his box last time by 2.5 stalls, and this time staying well below the limit.
Oh, that's a tough break indeed for Slater, as this will probably not be the night he's looking forward to.
Taking a look at the race leaders, starting to deal with plenty of traffic. That was Adam Zemke being lapped. Costa within 4/10 of Lon, and this is around the time where the light switch flipped into Acosta's direction.
Light switch will indeed flip right now into the hands of Acosta as he's starting to really reel in race leader Matthew Long as the long run speed starts to come into play for Acosta.
What can you do to adjust when you have a push-tight situation like Lon is, it seems?
Honestly, right now, there's not a whole lot he can do except maybe back up his corners a little bit, try to diamond the corner a little bit better in order for it to try to compensate for the tightness off corner exit, to try and let the car go up to the wall at a certain point of each lap. But it's so hard to do here at Kentucky because that car can be easily come around you very quickly.
Laps the 05 machine a second time now in this race. Checked him up a little bit. Costa 4 side by side with the Massey, who hits the wall. But you can see it just even there. Acosta has just that extra little bit of grip and cut that Lon is desperate for to stick at the other end of the dash marks.
He certainly is here. Last time by, he was about a 10th faster than Matthew Long and Richard Reagan Jr. The only driver faster than him is, hello, here he comes, Trent Dinkle.
Dinkle still 5 seconds back. Hearing previous time by, Mark Kalin had a major save around the racetrack from the top 16. Turn 4's been a bugaboo for a couple drivers. Nearly wrecked it a couple times coming out of the corner. Looking at the race leader still, Lon charges the corner hard. Acosta has a chance to try and get the run on exit. Here comes Acosta for the race lead.
Here they come for the race lead now as you're right on board with Acosta. He's really going to try to push the effort here to see if he can get around him. This is his time to shine as he goes up towards around the inside, stays right in the tire tracks of Matthew Long.
Right now staying within that about car length, dealing with the dirty air. And despite the issues, Lon is still sending it harder and harder in through the entry and pushing more and more as he fries that right front tire.
And with him utilizing too much of that right front tire, that's what's going to allow Acosta to get by him very quickly here in the next few laps. But Long has to try to find a way to back it off a little bit if he's want to try to see if he can maintain the race lead.
Oh, nearly hit the safer barrier. Acosta with a good run, still can't get alongside. Traffic ahead. Couple laps away from 3 different cars in the 20s.
And identical lap times last time by between the two drivers now as they come across the start finish. So still almost identical.
You see Acosta's trying to get the diamond. There's the diamond. Sees the chance as Lon slides it up. Acosta with the run. Not close enough for the full send. Tries it though. Lon pinches him down.
Long being very defensive to keep Acosta behind him.
And an air slam at the door across the nose of Acosta. Matthew Campbell right up the road from the top 15, top 10 in qualifying, all the way to being lapped. He's the first of the cars they have to deal with. And Campbell nearly loops it down the track, moves out of the way.
He's going to try to find his way through and catching up here. This is going to get exciting for the battle for the race lead. 60, coming to 60 laps to go here at Kentucky.
Already past the halfway point. Acosta, so far, 20 laps led. Lon 44. Lon's been better on the short to about halfway to the mid-run. The back half of the run, Acosta cuts it down, gets a half lane lower on the exit, still can't get alongside fully. Next car up is Hassett to deal with.
As they choose that, could this be the opportunity for these drivers to utilize as a pick as we pick up the battle for P3 between Reagan Dinkle now as they work their way in negotiating through some heavy lap traffic. Trent Dinkle now putting the afterburners in. He wants to go and try to get up to his teammate of Acosta to challenge for the race lead.
They were held up a fair bit with the traffic. Here's a look at the leaders again. Holding up a checkup for Lawn. Lawn had to lift out of the gas to avoid Hassett. Acosta, though, not able to take advantage either.
Carefully looking for the opportunity to get to the inside as they come out of turn number 4. Can't quite make it work this time. He's going to stay tucked up, but I know for a fact for Acosta, he's not going to stay tucked up behind that 28 machine for long. He looks to the inside as we ride on board with Matthew Long.
See those small differences coming out of turn 2 and 4. Acosta seems to be hitting the bubble. Right here, the closest he's been able to get this run. This time tries the higher mark, tries the same line from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Well, this time it worked.
Ooh, good run right there. Will he try to send it to the inside? He will. Side by side for the race lead here at Kentucky. Acosta gets the nose out.
Acosta trying to rotate to clear. He does. Matthew Long drops back to second. Abner Acosta back to the race lead.
And now it's going to be a run to the finish here for the next pit stop. When will we see these guys come down pit road? That is the question for some of these drivers as they work their way through. And now Trent Dinkle has caught to the back bumper of Richard Reagan Jr.
Reagan Jr. still dealing with the traffic, though. How do you play this?
Be patient. Try to utilize and see where the lap traffic is going to be set up for. If they're going to be in your lane, then follow the driver you're trying to pass, as we just see Dinkle get around Richard Reagan Jr. for third. But if they're going to be in the way of your competitor, utilize them as a pick and go for it.
Now, here's a question for you. Where's Waldo? Well, how about this for your second biggest mover, Waldo Walden, up 19.
Yeah, Carolina driver is currently sitting in 13th position as he's trying to negotiate around lap traffic of Charles Sumner, who is sitting in 31st position. But for Waldo Walden, he's not too far behind the 99 of Brandon Walters for P12.
Pace just a couple tenths off the leader's pace, yes, but still trying to find a way for it. Jeff Chandler. We've had experience working with Chandler in the past. Taylor and various teams. Chandler up 16 as well.
And Jeff Chandler is definitely one of those great talents on the service that you want to utilize in a lot of racing. He's picked up a couple of wins as we see one car go way below the yellow line to try to make his way into pit stall. That's Byron Johnson, who's now in his pit stall, along with Tom Amasi.
Aussie very much taking a conservative entry. It's not been a good day for the 05s. Multiple laps down this run. Looking back at Dinkle, though, all that battling has put him right back to square one. He's 7 seconds back.
That is a tall order, but we know how fast Trent Dinkle is. He will see what he can do before the pit stops. He's got about 12 laps to try to make it work, because that's when we'll see drivers such as Acosta, Matthew Long coming down pit road, as we see Eric Papineau, who's in 18th position, coming down in his 37 Chevrolet.
Papineau leaving the long run for last, it seems, for this race. Expecting a lot of the air drivers to come in around lap 100. He goes up on the jacks, was running in the 20s for his earlier stop. Looking back at Reagan Jr., falling back by 1/10 of a second per lap now compared to Dinkle. Conker also in the same boat. And then you have this boat that has plenty of passengers on it.
They certainly do here, and they're going to work their way around the circuit and continue on with this great racing action here as we pick up Lovings negotiating around Chris Hudson in the Krispy Kreme machine.
Oh, and Hudson again up the racetrack, nearly into the wall. Drivers a lap down. Jose Medina trying to play things safe. Robert Gambill trying to do the same at the bottom of the racetrack. They go back single file.
Back to single file racing here as they try to negotiate around turns 1 and 2. Chris Hudson, I have to say, this is not the night he was looking forward to here at Kentucky. He was up towards the front of the field in the top 5, but unfortunately struggling here in the second half of the race.
One of the cars you may notice in the backdrop, the 12, nearly looped it around. One of the Premier Racing Setups back cars for YS Motorsports are running 28. So some of the drivers, now with these temperatures really starting to struggle, the track temperature at 50 laps to go, I think it's important to bring up, went up from 97 degrees Fahrenheit at the green to 113. It's 1 p.m. in sim. You can tell why.
This is definitely going to be one to see right here, and tough break. That temperature is going to be very critical to see how long these drivers will stay out on the track.
That's a massive swing of temperature, even for a standard race in oval conditions, let alone in a track like Kentucky or a short track. Pit stop coming up. Matthew Campbell over the radio. He's the car right in front of Josh Cocker. And here's the problem. He's pitting from the second line. Cocker able to avoid the bumper.
Cocker indeed able to avoid the bumper here as Matthew Campbell comes down pit road.
So Campbell electing to go 45 laps. We'll have to go about 48 laps to close out the race. Pit window starting to open up in a flurry here. Joshua Daniels under attack by Luke Christensen. SGE Esports doing really solid tonight with some of these drivers. Christensen among them.
Certainly is the case here as they work their way down the back straightaway, but Daniels is really trying to showcase the level of talent here. Luke Christian's kicking off the season right with a strong top 10 all night.
So we've been a really good season for him as more pit stops. Jay McDonald, Robert Bisson Jr. coming in. Expecting the big-time flurry in the next moments or so as the 91 tries to move out of the way of some of these other drivers. Looking back at that battle, keep in mind they have Taylor Stout, who has also fallen right into their clutches as well. One of a bunch of pit stops in front of them. Ham, Erland, Hassett all coming in. So some of the lap traffic electing to duck in this time. That opens up more space for these drivers.
More space, more positions, but the question is going to be how long will they continue to stay out on the racing circuit here at Kentucky before they need to come down pit road.
And a roll of the dice just taken by Matthew Lawn. Lawn nearly spins it on the pit entry just now in the 28. Richard Regan Jr., something's happened to him. He's elected to come into pit lane, but there was a frustration over the radio from Josh Cocker. So Regan Jr. electing to come in as well here. The undercut strategy is on to try and undercut Acosta. Acosta responds quick.
Acosta does respond quickly here, and he will come down pit road and will make his way. Now the race is going to be who will be able to come down and have the faith as the caution comes out.
Caution is out. It's in 1 and 2. 18th place has gone around. That is Skip Gandy, who has spun. This changes everything.
It certainly does, and here we go.
Skip Gandy was on the access road at the time of the caution flag, and now how is this going to play out for who leads the race? In the middle of the pit cycle, Skip Gandy loops it off the pit lane and up the track.
You see Skip Gandy looping it around in the middle of 1 and 2. No contact by the looks of it, but unfortunately this will bring out the caution for the first time here tonight.
Some drivers might now also be at risk of an unsafe pit entry or closed pit entry. That's being weighed by PRL officials, but it's Pat Harvey who's now the leader for these pit stops. Who's also going to end up in the lead lap will be a huge question.
That will be a huge question. We're going to have to find out here momentarily once everyone completes their pit stops. But how about Pat Harvey, Taylor Stout, Joshua Daniels, Chris Hudson handed a good opportunity here as looking over 21 cars on the lead lap right now.
Here's Acosta, did stay on the lead lap and completed a service, will retake the lead. Conquer in the same boat as James O'Brien as well. Everybody else in a fair bit of track position, it looks like, from that. We'll see how iRacing sets up the order. First off the lane is Stout. Harvey coming off second from the pit lane, but as mentioned, Acosta was able to complete a service, so Acosta stays on the lead lap and stays in the race lead. Only a 1 lap difference. If anything, it could have been worse. Could have been much worse.
It certainly did. It gives the second and third place to Stout and Harvey. Josh Conquer, fourth. Chris Hudson. The question is going to be, where is some of our other drivers who are up towards the front of the field?
Here's O'Brien having to give up some spots, I believe.
Trent Dinkle, 17th. Richard Reagan, 18th right now. Matthew Long, 16th.
Yeah, those who took the undercut call in a bad spot, Long amongst those who will have to take a wave around: Robert Bisson Jr., Trent Dinkle, Jay McDonald, Richard Regan Jr., Matthew Campbell, Devin Hassett, Eric Papineau, Ken Erlin, Tom Massey, Robert Gambill, Clayton Ham, all in position to take the wave. Tough break for Dinkle, who was your biggest mover before that. Matthew Long also have the compensation. This now might be a battle between some of the private label cars. 3 of their top 4 drivers now are in the top 3 of 4. Or inside the top 4 as they're still trying to sort it out.
They are. They're still trying to figure out where everyone is going to be before this race continues on.
Oh, and that's an interesting call from the race control. Because of the timing of the caution, Conquer and O'Brien may have in-sim EOLs, Taylor.
I think that race...
Yeah, go ahead.
The race officials are trying to fix that and see what they can do, because they were out on the racetrack, already completed their pit stops before the caution came out.
They were in the lane, should say. If you enter the pit lane with the caution out, but then enter with a closed pit, it happens in official racing if there's close calls, and it's not easy to just swerve right and get back out of the pit lane. So it looks like they'll drop to the back, and Acosta remains the leader because he put the previous lap. So Taylor Stout is now in second, Pat Harvey, Chris Hudson, Luke Christian, Joshua Daniels, the top 6. Waldo Walden up 25 now.
This is going to be exciting as everyone lines up here on the circuit, and we're about to go racing.
So Conquer and O'Brien all the way back as a result of their in-sim penalties. They've extended the caution flag because half the waiver rounds have not caught the field yet. In fact, they've added 2 of them. So does time start to become a factor? There is 30 minutes to work with on the clock.
By the looks of it and how well they've been running, I think it's safe to say that they could do so.
An inner caution may make it interesting, we'll say, but now the lights are out on top of the iRacing pace car again. So now as the field gets itself sorted, figured out, who are you watching for this restart? We know Acosta's in a good spot. Harvey's been a good late run car. But a lot of these drivers up double-digit spots with a great chance at strong finishes now.
Well, the drivers who I've been watching here are going to be drivers such as Luke Christensen, Chris Hudson, and Joshua Daniels. These three drivers have had some really good runs in staying in the top 10 all night long as well. Keep an eye on those two to see what they can do here tonight.
So under 40 laps to go when the green flag flies, 39 left. Already, drivers have utilized 2 of their 4 tire sets in most cases. And here is an important factor, the start zone being utilized tonight. You cannot afford to go early or else it's a black flag.
Certainly is the case here, and you got to be so careful of that.
Leaders in control. Restart zone is where those 2 white markers are. Inside the zone, green flag is out. Back and away, Acosta, a great launch on the inside. And a very slow launch on the outside from Taylor Stout.
Great run indeed here as Taylor Stout will try to make sure he can get into the top 3 as him and Pat Harvey jockey for position. Here comes Chris Hudson with a head of steam.
Looking to try and bring the Krispy Kreme machine up to a sweet position. Side by side for second, Acosta looks to run. Big bobble on the scene for the 67 of Harvey.
Harvey, and we see Stout and Harvey going side by side. It's going to be 2 by 2, about 6 rows deep now as they're trying to work their way around the circuit.
Someone has to sort something out. Daniels able to get alongside Hudson on the corner exit. Offset 3 wide for a moment, with Chandler taking a peek behind them. Hudson preferring that third line maybe as he tries to build up a run behind Harvey. Harvey clear for second.
Harvey does complete the pass indeed as they come out of the front straightaway. Here comes Chris Hudson and Joshua Daniels on the outside.
Well, I love racing machines with Daniels. Krispy Kreme machine of Hudson. Working with his teammate to try and run that high line. Can't make it work. Chandler again gets a run, trying to push behind them. Luke Christensen. Top 4 single filed out. Christensen now in the top 5.
Christensen is having a good run to kick off the season. How about Jeff Chandler in 6th spot as Christensen shuts the door in front of Jeff Chandler.
Chandler electing to back it up this time as a result of that scissoring. Daniels tries to squeeze a bit. Up the track goes Hudson. Christensen on the charge inside for 4th.
Great racing action side by side, 2 by 2 between these 4 drivers as they jockey. How about Mark Kalin thinking about going 3 wide?
Kalin right now in the popcorn seat with all this in the Waterback racing car. Run to the inside of him though with Waldo Walden. More 2 by 2, 3 rows deep again. Oh, and up the track goes Chandler into the door. Christensen. He holds on to it. Chandler up to 4 from it.
Chandler's going to hold on here as they work their way through, and Joshua Daniels will pick up a spot. He'll move into the 5th spot.
Estimated 7-minute buffer currently with the pace we're running if we stay green. Christensen loses a spot to Daniels now. So Christensen slides back. All of this is while Acosta holds on to the lead by 2/10 over Harvey.
Pat Harvey trying to see if he can go and challenge Abder Acosta for the race lead here. 34 laps to go as they come out of turn number 2. Gets a little bit loose right there. Taylor Stout gathers it back up and continues on his way as now here comes Jeff Chandler to the inside.
Chandler uses him around the pick. Chandler now on the back bumper for second. Jeff Chandler up 28 spots. From the back of the field up to a race for P2 after not qualifying for tonight. He wants a chance at the lead as well.
Jeff Chandler really trying to work his way through in that 31 Abruzzi Chevrolet as they come out of turn number 2 up to 2nd place.
Here comes Chandler for the back bumper of Acosta. How do you play this if you're Chandler now? Oh, there's an opportunity.
That's how you play it.
Acosta got loose. Chandler to the outside. Jeff Chandler tries to get the side draft out. Acosta down to the first seam, second seams for Chandler. Jeff Chandler works around the outside line, zips around to take the race lead for the first time tonight.
As they work their way around, Jeff Chandler to the front of the field, takes over the race lead here, and now starts to see what he can do as he will try to stretch out his race lead over Abdur Acosta as everyone really gets right up against the outside wall as Reagan Jr. and Waldo Walden give the wall a little bit of a kiss.
What a charge to the pack for Chandler. Can he hold on the pace? Acosta, remember, the better of the two on the long run compared to some of his competitors tonight. Taylor Stout also closing. Harvey dropping back fast.
Harvey really starting to fall back as he's going to fall into the clutches of Joshua Daniels in the 77 machine as Acosta with that not that short run setup is now trying to have to hold off Taylor Stout here and before those tires start to come into play.
Lots of pressure to consider. Bumper to bumper to bumper. Run now for Taylor Stout. Doesn't take it though. No send up the inside. And it seems Acosta absolutely on the tire save. Meanwhile, what a charge back for Lawn. He is back in the top 10 outside of Caitlin. And now drafting off of Chris Hudson. Also up there, Regan Jr.
Everyone is just about trying to hold on everywhere here during this stage of the race. What about some of these other drivers who are having to fight their way up through the field as Chris Hudson and Reagan Jr. are battling for 7th still. They're side by side as they head off into turn 3.
Reagan Jr. boxed in a bit behind Christensen. Christensen gets hounded by the Toyota Camry of Reagan Jr. They'll have to give a bump draft to the 21 though on the inside line. Hudson pushes up the track a bit on the outside. It's almost like another cork in the bottle as there's the cork starting to pop in the backdrop. Kalen getting squirrely with Walden.
Walden really struggling right now in this stage of the race as he's trying to hold on to his Ford Mustang as he's trying to negotiate. Brandon Walters along with Richard Pruitt, who is leading at one point of the race, trying to see if he can fight his way into the top 10.
One of those drivers who did take advantage of some of the caution periods, absolutely though. Now the outside of Christensen goes long. Regan Jr. up to 7th before the caution was inside the top 3, running much of this race on his own. Lots of blocking, keep in mind, from Regan Jr. in the midst of this. He does not want to let Long go.
He certainly does not want to let go to that lead at all. He's going to try to find a way to see what he can do and try to see if he can hunt down and try and be in contention for the race win here tonight. There he is, sawing at the wheel as he works his way out of 2.
Long, though, still with that short run for Dirty Self to the inside. Licks the stamp. Absolutely sends it. But Long nearly sent it too strong, just avoids the safer barrier. Up at the front, Chandler holds on to a 2.3 of a second lead. The pace is switching back to Acosta's way, though. Acosta the past 5 laps, 1/10 of a second quicker.
But we see Acosta now start to kick in the afterburners and utilize, no longer saving, it's time to go, or will he try to wait till the absolute last few moments of the race because he has now caught back up. Everyone pretty much now forming the choo-choo train here tonight.
Acosta more cut, Chandler nearly to the wall, 24 laps to go. Chandler looking to hold on to the point from Decatur, Alabama. Here comes squabbling in the backdrop, but Acosta goes there. Chandler way up the racetrack. Out of the race lead, Chandler. He is struggling something fierce. He loses the lead and loses second.
He might lose that second position as well as here comes Taylor Stout to the inside and third position as here comes Pat Harvey as well. He is stuck on that outside lane. That's not where you want to be now during this stage of the race.
So Chandler all the way back to 4th position after missing turn 3. Abner Acosta looks to set sail.
And set sail he does. He now stretches out that lead to about 0.3 of a second now, as Taylor Stout and Pat Harvey will duel for second.
Harvey wants to go. Not even close up the run. Richard Regan Jr. all of a sudden has fallen like a brick. A spin behind him. Mark Kalin goes around. Caution flag is out, and that was in a checkup with Regan Jr.
Kalin now going to have to wait for everyone to pass by, and this will change a little bit of the issues here for him as he tries to get himself sorted out. Let's take a look at the replay. This is entering into turns 1 and 2. Kalin on the inside of Regan Jr. Does he get a little help?
Look at Dinkle.
Right there is the contact, and yep, contact with Dinkle almost collects Josh Conker.
Already a couple penalties from last season for qualifying for Dinkle. But remember, Regan Jr., with all that defensive movement, was part of that catalyst, you could say.
Race officials such as Charles Sumner and the rest of the PRL crew will have a little bit of work to do in discussion of that.
Pit stop time with 20 laps to go. Couple sets to work with. We'll see if anybody pulls strategy here. We ran about 20 plus laps on that stint though.
And everybody who's inside the top 10 is definitely going to come down pit road here. See, a couple of cars may stay out, but we'll see how this will play out here during the stage of the race.
Lucky dog this time is Johan Seminaro. So far, a lot of 4-tire calls. Brandon Walter took 2. So did Josh Conker. Acosta tries to beat them at the cone, still does, but Walter gets to 2nd on 2 tires. Conker only gets to 5th on his call.
Well, this will be exciting to see how this plays out for the 2-tire strategy.
On a 20-lap difference, though, Taylor?
That's going to be difficult, though, because the only thing I can think of is they may think another caution is going to come out, but still, even then, I don't know why would they do that. But, I mean, if you think about it, maybe if an early caution comes out, they come down and change the left side tires. The only thing I could think of.
Counterpoint, what happens then if someone else takes 2 tires on them?
Well, then that just changes a whole lot of other perspective with how these races play out. But I think for these drivers, they're already on their last set, if I remember correctly. 3 sets of tires are only allowed.
4. 4 sets in the pits tonight. Although there are a couple waiver rounds to note. Jose Medina, Ken Allen, Robert Gambill, Charles Sumner, Matthew Campbell, Biden Ham, and Jordan Slater all taking the waiver rounds. Or this caution period ends with under 20 to go. Fireworks about to go off, and what do you think might have been adjusted now with Acosta's car? Remember, his car doesn't kick into gear until 20 laps in.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a stretch to see. I'm pretty sure they might have made some air pressure adjustments, try to bump up the air pressure so that way his car is ready to roll for this dash to the finish here. And looking over the time limit as well as how many laps are left in the race, they should, if we do not get another caution, they should be good to go.
But also, who does this open up the door for the most, you think, to try and fight for this race win?
Well, it opens up the door for a lot of drivers. I mean, you have Acosta, who definitely will be one to watch because he is not known for his short run speed right now. Pat Harvey, Taylor Stout, they did pretty good on their opening lap speeds here, so they could have something for Walters and Acosta. Daniels, also keep an eye on him as well. Jeff Chandler now resets himself ready for a run.
7 specifically, remember he was a lightning rod on the short run last time for about 15 laps. Byron Johnson black flagged this caution because he passed the pace car on his pit entry He was running 24th prior to the previous lap, now 28th position amongst those who are towards the rear of the field a lap down. So 1 to go signal. It's Acosta on 4 tires, Walter on 2, Harvey and Stout 3rd and 4th, with Stout on the bottom, Harvey on the top. Conker in 5th, Daniels in 6th, Lawn in 7th, Chandler, Walden, and Chris Hudson, your top 10 in the field. See if they have to add an extra lap this time. Half the wave around, still coming out of turn 2 right now at full speed.
They did just give the warning. No, it looks like they are going to let them go here because the field, the wave around cars are catching up as they enter turn 3. They have to start checking up right now, as we'll see Benny, the pace car driver, get ready to make that hard left turn down to the pit road.
Costa ready to launch from first gear for this restart. 17 laps to go, heading to the restart zone. Acosta accordions them into the box. Green flag is out, back underway. Edward Stout gets a bump trap from Conker heading off to 1. Walter didn't get a good launch. Stout tries to clear quickly for second. Conker tries to make it 3 wide for the spot.
Out of turn number 2, 3 wide action here as they watch on Josh Conker trying to work his way down to the inside of Taylor Stout side by side. How about Pat Harvey thinking about continuing the 3 wide charge? Thinks better of it, stays behind Taylor Stout as Jeff Chandler slices his way through the field.
Chandler tries the top side to get around Harvey, doesn't get around him. Stout still side by side with the 2 tires of Conker. Walter holding on to second with a buffer. Conker tried the late arc to clear on by. He does. He's up to 3rd.
Up to P3 now is a private label team hype 1, 2, 3 right now. A lockout of the podium as 1 car scrapes against the wall off turn 2.
No major issues though. Lawn also trying to make a charge all the way to the back bumper of Harvey. Lawn can't clear Chandler though. He bobbles. He nearly spins it. Here comes Hudson for 3 wide. Also to the outside goes Daniels.
Richard Reagan thinking about making it 4 wide before they enter into turn 1 and 2. Thinks better of it. Trent Dinkle goes to the top side of the racetrack.
Dinkle trying to find a way forward in this hornet's nest. Hudson clears himself on the front nose of Daniels, his teammate.
Josh Conker moves up to P2, and he's closing in on the back bumper of Abner Acosta for the race lead. It's down to 0.2 of a second, and he just ran the fastest lap of the race at 31.9.
And that's on 2 tires. Interestingly enough, absolutely. Still side by side, Daniels and Lawn for 8th and 9th for the time being. But that battle for the race lead, coming to under 13 laps to go this time around, has closed up to within 1/10 of a second.
Josh Conker set the fastest lap again, or last time by at 31.8. He really is kicking in the afterburners this stage of the race.
Trouble, Long hitting the side of Daniels again. Holds onto it, able to save it. Dinkle to the outside with Regan Jr.
Dinkle trying to see what he can do, as now he'll go to the outside of Lovings and Long here as they'll battle for position here as a battle for the race lead. Here we see Conker to the inside of Acosta.
Acosta gets the run on the 4 tires though. Conker has to reset. Back to single file, half a second up over Walter and Stout.
Crosses over to the outside lane now, then crosses to the inside. Acosta throwing a little bit of defensive maneuvers to keep his teammate behind, but now here comes Conker. He led that lap coming across the line.
Conker nearly clear. Acosta trying to make it cut. No, he can't. Josh Conker, for the first time tonight, up to the lead from the mid-pack.
What a drive for Josh Conker here, a way to kick off the season for him as they come out, and he's starting to pull away. 3 car lengths separate the 2.
11 to go this time. Can Acosta bounce back though? Remember, Conker trying to make it work on 20 lap old left side tires. Hornet's Nest, meanwhile, the telling sign, Walter is struggling on his lefts.
He certainly is here as he's trying to hold back the floodgates of who's behind him. Chris Hudson, Jeff Chandler, Joshua Daniels, and Trent Dinkle, who gets a little bit of a love tap right there from Matthew Long and Pat Harvey.
Hudson tries to cross to get underneath Walter out of 4. 10 laps to go. Final 10 laps from Kentucky. 2x2 again. Near 3 wide again on the send behind him. The inside that time, long around Harvey. And Eric Papineau, where did he come from for SGE up there as well?
Looking to get into the top 10 here tonight for him to have a good run to kick off the season. He'll send it in deep inside of Pat Harvey.
And to back out of it, though, Harvey holding on to his line. Matthew Lowen squiggles up the track. Trent Dinkle still trying to get around Chandler.
Brent Dinkle really trying to hold on here to get around his teammate of Brandon Walters. Chandler washes up the racetrack here as he stays tucked up behind Joshua Daniels in the 77.
Oh, that was tight. Harvey got pinched down. Lowen tries to pinch up Chandler. Regan Jr. squeezes up. Offset 3 wide behind him. James O'Brien trying to make up ground from his EOL.
Meanwhile, Abner Acosta is starting to reel back in your race leader, Josh Conker, now as they have under 10 laps to go.
Under 8 to go, in fact. Right now, Acosta looking to size up Conker. Conker starting to show some weakness on the tires. Acosta not able to get inside yet. They have about a 1-second buffer over the rest of the pack. It's down to these two. Conker slides it. Acosta with the better run on the corner exit. Abner Acosta fights his teammate side by side of the stripe.
The two teammates will do battle as they come out into turn number 1 here. Conker tries to use the outside momentum to keep and pinch down Abner Acosta. Not going to work as Acosta will not be denied.
Drag race down the backstretch. 6.5 laps to go. Acosta keeping it clean. Plenty of space from Conker. Conker gets loose again. Acosta again out of turn 4 with a better run. Abner Acosta with 4 tires. Able to lead at the stripe this time.
With these two battling, this is going to bring in Taylor Stout and Chris Hudson into the mix as well. They have to be careful with these two battling. Otherwise, it'll be a 4-car battle for the race lead.
Conker off the track. Conker pushed loose. Acosta up to the race lead. 5.5 laps to go.
Now Acosta is going to try to have to set it in cruise control, but be careful to watch out for Taylor Stout, as now Josh Conker has to try to hold on for the end of this race.
Taylor Stout coming in fast as well. Down to 5 laps to go to start off the season. The 66 of Stout closed in about 6/10 last time by on the leaders. Acosta already 6/10 up over Conker.
Now Conker has to do battle with Taylor Stout and Chris Hudson, who have caught up to him. Trent Dinkle rounding out your top 5 in the 5th position. He's still about 7/10 of a second back, but closing as Stout looks to the inside.
Had to park the bus there, Conker did. Hudson able to take advantage. 4 to go. Hudson moves up to 3rd with the cross underneath out of 4. Off to 1 he clears.
Conker's hoping Hudson and Taylor Stout will battle more as the caution is out.
And now it's about timing. The caution comes out for Skip Gandy. Again, his 2nd caution of the night. Talk about green-white checkered territory. Is this going to be enough time to finish? This was with help from Jose Medina.
Tough break indeed between the two, and I saw Skip Gandy get a little bit vocal about that situation.
And they were battling way at the back. Gandy 27th, Medina 22nd. But the fireworks about to really go off here. 1, there's about 6 minutes left on the clock. 2, there's a set of tires left in the pits for most. What do you do with a 2-lap shootout?
That's a tough question, I have to say right there. Track position. If you're towards the back half of the field, outside the top 10, you've got to come down and get fresh tires for this green-white checkered. If you're in the top 10, you got to kind of follow what maybe the leader does. If you're in the top 5, if you're maybe outside the top 5, maybe do the opposite of what the leader does.
And does anyone peel in? No. They're banking on the time here. Wow. Richard Pruitt and Jeff Chan were the only ones taking the tires here. Then it has to be a time decision if they think this is going to run out. After all, those drivers will have to somehow make up 18 spots for the win in 2 laps. Green light checkered is triggered.
The green light checkered is triggered indeed, as one car will get the lucky dog. As I'm looking at the time right now, it's about under 2 minutes.
Got more than 4 minutes on my end. But we'll see how this plays out. It might end up being a 1-lap shootout, depending on the restart. So now, much older tires, Taylor. Tire spin might be huge. How do you handle the run through the gears to do this right for the restart?
You gotta be careful on the restart. You have to time it perfectly for if you're Abner Acosta, if you want to go up there and try and take over this race lead here. You don't want to spin the wheels on these tires. For Josh Conker, it's a little bit more of a tougher scenario for him because of those older tires that he has and the 2 good tires that he has. So this is going to be a definitely game of inches for some of these drivers here tonight.
Under 4 minutes on the clock. See that time right in the upper corner of your screen. This is from the sim. Drivers still have 3 to go. Another pace lap. And the expectation is coming up to a drag race to decide it here. So about a 1-lap shootout based on the timing here, if we get the green flag at the time we think we do.
We're about to find out here, as 3 minutes about to be left on the clock and the pace lights are still on. This is going to be close.
I think they might take the green flag in the final minute of the clock. Pace lap's currently about 90 seconds a pace lap. We'll say Trent Dinkle, he might have a shot here. He's up to 5th on this restart, and we've seen how aggressive he's been.
We certainly have, and he may have something for his teammate Abner Acosta. Of course, those two were trying to battle for a championship. Both of them really showcasing a lot of great speed all season last year. And of course, it was very chaotic to see these two battling it out for a championship.
Back in the 1-to-go signal here. About 2 minutes on the clock. Might get 1 lap, might get 2. Time to double them up. Acosta on 4 tires. Conker slipping around before the caution on 2 tires. Then it's Hudson and Stout. Dinkle and Daniels, Lawn and Reagan Jr., O'Brien and Walter. Only 1 attempt at the green light checkered. If we get a caution before the white flag, the race will end under yellow. If the time runs out, then there's the chance the white flag comes out then. In other words, it's up to Barney what he wants to do.
The hardest working man of all of iRacing about to cause a little drama for us here tonight, I have to say, Justin.
Based on the timing, going to be under a minute left on the clock. Might get 2, might get 1. The freshest tires in the field are back in 21st, rather 19th with Richard Pruitt, 20th on back. This is the deciding run for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series powered by VCO to start its season at Kentucky. Conker tries to even it up. Under a minute on the clock. Final time to the restart zone. Green white checker is underway. A good launch from the outside. Conker changes lanes before the start and finish line to block.
Throws a big block in front of Chris Hudson to allow Abner Acosta to pull away with the race lead. Here comes Dinkle to the inside of Hudson.
Conker sliding around, Hudson up the track. Dinkle tries to floor it, nearly loops it. Holds onto it down the backstretch. Conker tries to block hard for second.
Conker being very aggressive with the blocking as they come out of turn number 4. Oh, trouble! 1 car into the wall.
Caution flag is out. Abner Acosta will take the white and the checker together as they all scramble down the front stretch. Wow. Matthew Lawn, Taylor Stout amongst those who dropped way back in the order from that incident. But it's Abner Acosta. Will take the checker flag this time by to start off the season with a victory.
How about Chris Hudson coming home with a podium finish here tonight? Great drive for him. Conquer with the two-tire strategy call, coming home in second. So this is going to be an exciting season 1 of 2023.
So Abner Acosta for private label Team Hype. Red Hot since joining this team a couple years ago. Start off 2023 season with the W. He wins at Kentucky. Josh Conquer makes it a Team 1-2. Let's take a look at what caused the final caution. Keep an eye on Dinkle.
Dinkle tried to send it into the inside of Taylor Stout, and I believe right about here.
Long got into him.
Long did get into him, which caused Dinkle to get involved with Taylor Stout and then cause a major issue off of 4.
66 loops it around. Matthew Lawn did get to keep his spot. Taylor Stout did not. So Abner Acosta looking to celebrate a first victory of the brand new season. 65 laps led, the king of the long run here at Kentucky. A lot of smoke kicked up by Acosta for the burnout for private label Team Hype, one of the most successful teams in the PRL when it comes to this car for the past 3+ years. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results. Josh Conquer finishes behind for Team 1-2, first and second for them. Chris Hudson in third, Trent Dinkle from 30th to 4th. Off to the final caution, Richard Regan Jr., the pole sitter, finished in 5th. James O'Brien and Matthew Lawn 6th and 7th. Long, remember, getting in spot back after that issue. Then Joshua Daniels in 8th. Papano and Walden, your top 10. Brandon Walter slipped back to 11th to end the race with Pat Harvey in 12th. Mark Kalin, Luke Christian with Richard Pruitt on fresh tires getting to 15th. Johan Salmonero in 16th. Jay McDonald, Brett Pancari, Aaron Beaver, and Jeff Chandler, who led laps at one point, falling to 20th. Jose Medina finishes ahead of Campbell. Once the final drivers in the lead lap as well, with Ken Allen as well as Skip Gandy, Robert Gambill, Charles Sumner, Robert Vishon Jr., and Taylor Stout, 28th. Stephen Hassett finishes 29th, and Adam Zemke also a lap down in 30th. 2 laps down tonight went to Clayton Ham, with Tom Emmessy as well in that regard. Byron Johnston 3 laps down in 33rd. Jordan Slater after a litany of issues in 34th. And Roy Grande, the only DNF for the night, 35th. An interesting night here from Kentucky. Abner Acosta picking up the victory. Some of the drivers settling on in for post-race coverage here as they cycle their way in. Why don't we start off with Josh Conquer, Taylor, the second place driver tonight? It was eventful for the Conquer to be able to try and conquer the 2-tire call. He's with you.
Here with Josh Conquer coming home P2 with a very crazy strategy call to come out with 2 tires. Josh, I mean, walk us through that start right there.
Yeah, you know, it was crazy. James and I got a penalty, the caution before that, for entering a closed pit, and they tried to clear it, and it still sent us to the back. So I was pretty frustrated with that. I would have come out P2, would have been able to ride with Abner and save some tire. But yeah, like, we went into the pits. One of our guys told us earlier in the week that 2 tires works. He goes, you can get about 30 laps out of it, you know, like good solid laps. So I said, you know what, we're gonna take a massive change, loosen her up, take the 2 tires, and, you know, pray to God it works. And it worked for a bit. I pushed it a little too hard. Unfortunately, Abner got back by me, but at least we gave you a show before you got back around me.
He certainly did, and indeed, and of course, this is a great way to kick off the 2023 season for you. A lot of things happening for you, both in the virtual and real world. Do we expect you to see you run the full season here in 23 for the PRL Cup Series?
I'm gonna run as much as I can. Obviously, with the real world stuff, I'll be all around the United States, traveling a bunch. But yeah, I'm gonna run as much as I can. I signed up for Xfinity on Wednesdays too tonight, so I'm gonna do that and just have some fun with that. But yeah, I'm gonna try my best to make as many races as possible. Obviously, you know, with real life racing, that takes the priority. But yeah, looking forward to a fun season regardless. Glad we're back in open setups. Tough week overall, but yeah, looking forward to a fun season.
That is Josh Conker coming home in P2 here tonight as we get ready to talk to our next driver, who is going to be with our very own Justin Prince. Who do we got next, Justin?
How about your race winner? Abner Acosta now joins us from Victory Lane tonight. 1 for 1 for 2023 competition. Abner, talk us through that battle for the race win with your teammate Josh Conker, 4 versus 2 tires.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, that was insane that 2 tires can be that fast. But I guess eventually he burned them off and I was able to get through. But yeah, I thought I was going to have like a pretty easy race after that. But I mean, before that, and when I saw him catch up and have that speed, I was like, uh-oh. But no, glad I was able to eventually get by him cleanly and get the win.
How would you describe the strengths of your car tonight? We've seen a lot, almost like a light switch effect. How would you describe its feeling and how?
My car, honestly, it was perfect. I just ran the pace that I practiced in order to save tires, and everything worked out at the lap that I thought people would fall off. They did. Obviously, Matt and Richard were very strong, and passing here is very strong overall. So, car was perfect. Everything went according to plan, to be honest.
Team 1-2 indeed, but the next time out is going to be a little while from now. A 2-week holiday break, Michigan Legacy Edition. Your confidence on the big tracks this season?
I think I feel pretty okay. Not sure how that the legacy track is gonna feel like. Not sure if I've done. I think we have done that before. Not sure, but I feel pretty good in all the tracks. So I'm pretty sure I'll do okay. I'll just have to it's gonna be kind of difficult with a 2-week break and getting back into practice after that break. That might be a little difficult, but as far as race strategy and pace, I should be fine.
Well, congratulations on your first victory this season, starting off on the right foot, leading the most laps too.
Thank you, guys. Before I head out, I want to thank my team, Team Hype, Private Label, Ethica, and everybody that's fought for us and everybody that's watching. Thank you.
Private Label Team Hype driver Abner Acosta coming away with the victory tonight, his first of the season. Well, the first race of this said season. Chris Hudson finished in 3rd tonight in the Krispy Kreme machine. He's with Taylor.
Here with Chris Hudson. Chris, a great drive for you here tonight. We saw early on you had to face a little frustration with the handling of the car, but you were able to bounce back with this top 3 finish. Walk us through your ups and downs tonight.
Yeah, I guess you could tell I was definitely struggling on the long run with this car. The setup that I'd worked on this week just didn't have the long run pace, and once we got up around 30 laps or so on it, the back end just wouldn't stay behind me. So yeah, I was struggling. And then at the end there, we had a couple short runs there between cautions, and that's where this setup shines is going fast in those short runs. So it just luckily that's how it worked out. I was able to pick off some spots there at the end and end up in 3rd. So yeah, super happy with that. Wasn't expecting it after the first half of that race.
Well, Chris, I mean, we got a lot of racing up ahead for 2023, but if we take a little bit of time off, how does that affect the driver's mentality, knowing in this championship that we take 2 weeks off, not really 1 week off, but back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, it's you know, it's going to be tough with I'm sure everybody has family obligations and stuff like that to kind of stay warm and keep practicing. So it may have a little bit of an effect. But you know, I was talking to my team. Everybody in this league is just so good and so fast. I mean, I don't think we'll see much of a difference. I think everybody's going to come back and be just as fast. So yeah, it's a nice clean race tonight. I mean, for the most part. So you know, really like to see that. So hopefully that'll continue throughout the season.
Well, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Yeah, big thanks to Love Racing, Josh Daniels, Jose Medina. Really appreciate them having me on the team. It's been, you know, it's going to be a tough season, I think, but, you know, really enjoy racing with those guys. And, you know, thanks to PRL, you know, this has been an amazing league. I really enjoy it. And, you know, you guys, the broadcast makes it. It's so much fun watching the broadcast. I have family tuning in. So, hey, mom and dad, it's you know, it's always a good time. So, yeah. So thanks to everybody, and looking forward to the rest of the season.
That is, of course, Chris Hudson coming home with a podium finish here tonight. Justin, I think we have a couple of other drivers who are interested in coming up to talk with us. Next up, I believe, might be either Trent Dinkle with us.
Yes, Trent Dinkle all the way up to 4th from 30th after the penalty of not being able to qualify. Trent, how difficult was it for you tonight to get up here?
Actually, it really wasn't too bad. You know, coming into the race, I had, you know, I knew I wanted to go slower, and I think starting from the back honestly kind of helped that because I wasn't feeling like I had to push it anytime. And I mean, I made up a lot of ground, and then that caution came out and totally screwed up. I mean, more than just me. I mean, everybody that should have been at the front was no longer at the front except for Abner, really. And then that caution with Mark was kind of iffy. I don't know if I didn't come up or he didn't go up enough, or if I came up too quick, but you know, we just barely touched and around he went. And then I definitely think I had a little bit of luck on my side that it gave me my spot back after I got wrecked on the green white checker. But you know, it wasn't bad. I felt like the car definitely had a ton of long run. Before we pit the first time, I was pretty much the fastest car on the track after 20 laps, which is what I was going for. And then just that caution kind of screwed everything up for the whole rest of the race.
And you mentioned that approach you took today, trying to take it more careful on some of the runs. How, again, would you describe this season's approach for Private Label Team Hype? Now, a couple years of strong performances. Of course, you came off a strong 2022. How was that approach transition for this season?
I think we're kind of in the same boat as pretty much everybody except for Matt Long and Taylor. Like, we haven't been racing with open setups. We've been only running fixed setups for the last year. So, you know, coming into tonight, I really wasn't expecting for us to be as fast as we were, to be completely honest. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a confidence booster going in for the rest of the season, or at least the next couple races. I don't know if I'm going to be able to race Michigan or not. I guess we'll have to see what Charles thinks of that one. But yeah, I mean, if nothing else, then we'll just come back after that stronger than before.
I was going to ask about Michigan in turn for that, but thank you very much for the time, Trent. What a charge to the pack from you tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Trent Dinkle coming away in the 4th position tonight. Able to hold on as well as a result of some of the craziness. Richard Regan Jr., also a previous champion in this series. He finished in 5th after starting on the pole. He's with Taylor.
Here was Richard Reagan Jr. Richard, you had a couple of close calls here tonight, but was able to come home with a top 5 finish. Walk us through maybe some of the things that you might have been missing in order to come out with the win here.
Just lack of experience with the open setups here. Me and Reese made a lot of adjustments all race, trying to keep up with the track and making adjustments, and we were doing pretty good after the first pit stop. Car felt a lot better. And then when we came down pit road, the second time, the caution came out, and we were behind the pace car, so we had to start all the way towards the back. I know a lot of other people had to do that too, but after that, I knew we were in trouble because the car it wasn't that great in dirty air, and at the time when I had made the pit stop already, I had already trimmed it out a little bit more for the cleaner air, and so we were behind the 8 ball there from the beginning of that restart. So definitely learning experience, got a lot to learn with these cars, and looking forward to the rest of the season.
Any tracks in particular you feel confident that you have what it takes to come home with the checkered flag?
We'll see. I was pretty confident coming into this week, honestly, with the official stuff I did. But, we'll just keep working at it and keep learning the car.
Well, of course, before we let you go, anyone like to say thank you to?
Yeah, Neonism paints. If you need a paint, go to facebook.com/neonism. Everyone at Dirty South Racing, everyone at PRL, and you guys at RaceSpot.
Well, that is Richard Reagan Jr. coming home with a top 5 finish here this season to kick off the season at Kentucky Speedway. Justin, a lot of things still exciting to come up for Richard Reagan in 2023.
I think the entire top 5 are taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here this evening. Taylor, as we come up to you guys, the fans, the question is, your final thoughts on how tonight played out in your opinion?
It went pretty well, I would have to say, for most seasons that we call it the PRL Cup Series. Normally we see a little bit of chaos, but I think with how the new format is, bringing in up the higher-ranking drivers to compete in the Cup Series, opening up the floor for those who compete in the Trucks and Xfinity Series, this is a great way to bring in a lot of great racing action, a lot of potential, and also great to see some possible new faces come up into the play.
And it's going to be intriguing how the next one plays out because it was talked about a 2-week layaway with the holidays. New Year action starts off, Taylor, at Legacy, Michigan on January the 8th. Your opinions on what we expect to see at the older Michigan?
A lot of high speeds, a lot of bumpiness, and watch out for turn 2 because it can sure get you real quick.
And that'll be January the 8th, 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time, the start time for that action. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye from iRacing's virtual Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. For my co-announcer tonight and Taylor Burris, for our producer Joshua Lee, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Thank you so much for tuning in for the season opener. PRL's NASCAR Cup Series powered by VCO. Congratulations to Abner Acosta, your winner from Kentucky.